We're here for hopefully what is a 60-minute hip class. We had a request for some hips, so that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna get into the hips. A lot of times when we think about doing a hip class, we think of external rotation of the hips, which is the way that I'm sitting now, so that the legs rotate out. We're gonna do a little bit of that, and also internal rotation of the hips. I find in my own personal practice, that's the piece that often gets a bit stuck for me as well. So we're gonna try to get all around the hips in all types of different motions today. So we'll start with a little bit of breathing. Close your eyes. Focus on your breath. Notice the inhalation and the exhalation. And then begin to cultivate Ujjayi breath, sound breath at the back of your throat. And this is a slight constriction of the throat so that it sounds like you're fogging up a mirror, but with your lips closed. And then notice if your inhalation or exhalation are longer, and try to even them out, so that your inhalation is as long as your exhalation. Then bring your hands to heart center, lift your chest, and bow your head. Release your hands and open your eyes. So today you're going to need a block, at least one block, a strap, a chair. Any chair will do. I have a yoga chair. Any chair will do. And that should be it. So see, if you don't have blocks, grab something block-like, book or something that is sturdy. We're going to be squeezing it. If you don't have a strap, use a tie or a blanket or a towel or something, or a belt or something like that. Okay, let's get started. So start on your back, lay on your back, take your strap, bring your right knee into your chest and put the strap around the ball of your right foot. And straighten or start to straighten your right leg towards, so that the foot comes towards the ceiling. This is just a beginning, gentle approach for some hamstring and hip work. This does not have to be a really deep stretch. You don't have to feel it a lot. It's also can be kind of used as a baseline. Like, how are my hips and hamstrings doing today? You can check in and see where there's some tightness and where things might feel a little bit more open or easeful. Have one strap in each hand. This helps to provide balance across the ball of the foot. And then press into the ball of your big toe and spread your toes wide. Even get that little pinky toe out to the side. Now pull your toes towards your face and just notice how that changes things. And then press your toes towards the ceiling. Notice if that's any different. Bring both straps into your right hand, take your left arm long, and take your right leg over to the right. You can bend it a little bit if you need to, or you can have it straight. If you have a wall nearby, I have a wall nearby, so I'm going to put my foot, particularly my heel, on the wall here and press. Continue to spread your toes. You can pull your toes towards your face, push your toes away just to notice that different flexion of the foot. And then bring your right leg up. Now bend your left leg, shift your hips to the right, straighten your left leg. Take both straps in your left hand. Keep both hips on the floor, so we're not going to roll way over to the right to begin with. Straighten your right arm out to the right and take your right foot to the left. Cross your foot over your body, just gently. This isn't a big twist. I'm not interested in the twist, actually. I'm interested in the outer hip work, which comes with the twist too, but I'm not interested in the twist here. Push into the ball of your foot. Press your toes over to the corner of the room and notice what that does. Pull your toes towards your face and notice how that might be different. Draw your belly in and up Keep your left toes pointed up towards the ceiling as much as you can. Inhale, come back to center. Release your strap. Shift your hips back to neutral. Straighten your right leg. Bend your left knee into your chest. Put the ball of your foot into the strap. One strap in each hand, and straighten your left leg. I have a huge difference in flexibility in my hamstrings right now. So my left leg does not straighten very far up towards the ceiling these days. But point your right toes straight up. Spread your toes. Press through the ball of your left foot. Your left big toe, sorry. And spread your toes. And then push up into the ceiling. And flex your foot down towards your face. Press your foot up into the ceiling. Pull your foot towards your face. Press your toes up. Pull your toes back. Then take both straps into your left hand. Take your right arm wide and take your left foot over to the left. So you can put your elbow down. Mine doesn't go very far. So you put your left elbow down and prop it up. If that works for you, point your right toes up. Spread your toes wide. Press the ball of the foot into the strap. Just kind of notice what that does. Tone your legs, so make the top of your leg firm. Point your foot. Pull your foot towards your face. Press through the ball of the foot. Pull your foot towards your face. Press through the ball of your foot. And pull your foot towards your face. Take your left leg up. Switch hands. Bend your right leg. Shift your hips to the left. Straighten your right leg. And take your left foot over towards the right. This can be a small movement here. You don't have to roll. It's not a twist, so you don't have to roll way over. But do spread your toes. Press through the mound or the ball of your big toe so that you kind of point your foot a little bit. And then pull your toes towards your face. Press your toes into the strap. Point your foot. Mix between pointed and flex. Pull your toes. Point your foot. One more time. Pull your toes towards your face. Point your foot. And then bend your left leg. Shift your hips back to neutral. Take the strap up off of your foot. Bend both feet. Bend both knees. Sorry. Put your feet flat on the floor. Put your right ankle on top of your left knee. If this is a lot here, stay here. You can draw your left knee in towards your chest. If you can't quite reach around the back of your leg, grab your strap and use your strap around the back of your leg to pull your knee in towards your chest. If you can grab the back of your thigh, great, do so. If you can grab the front of your shin, also an option. None of them better than the other, just different options depending on what your body needs. Flex both of your feet, tone your outer hips. And then tilt your pelvis so that your sits bones point more towards the mat. So you make a little space in your lower back. You could slide something underneath the lower back there. If your right elbow's on your right knee, then rotate, press into here. If your elbow's on your right thigh, not your knee, press your elbow into your thigh gently to help rotate the hip towards the front of your mat. And then release your legs, switch your feet. So left foot on top of, left ankle on top of your right knee. And then draw your right knee into your chest. Again, you can put a strap around the back of the thigh. You can interlace your hands behind the back of your thigh. You can even put your hands around the front of your shin. But tone your outer left hip a lot and rotate your hip in its socket so that the hip and the knee rotate towards the front of the mat. Flex your left foot, the top foot. Then release your feet. Draw your right knee into your chest. Keep your left leg bent. Draw your right knee into your chest. And then move your knee out towards your armpit so you get a wide bent knee action going on here. You can stay here if you want to stay here, or grab the outer edge of your foot and press your sole of your foot towards the ceiling. pull your foot into your hand, press your foot into your hand, pull your hand into your foot. So you start to bring the knee down towards your armpit. Keep your left knee pointing up towards the ceiling, left foot flat on the floor. Try to keep your hips as level as possible. Connect with your breath here. Release your right leg. Take your left knee into your chest. Keep your right knee bent for now. Then take your knee wide towards your armpit. You can walk your hands down your shin, pull it in towards your armpit. Point your right knee up towards the ceiling. Stay there or grab the outer edge of your foot for half happy baby. Press your foot into your hand, pull your hand into your foot, tone your outer hip. So even though you have external rotation here, it's not just a relaxed out external rotation, it's a hugging in as well. And release your left foot. Draw both knees into your chest. And then rock and roll to standing. So you can either just roll over and stand up, or if you want to get a little fancy, you can come up to standing. All right, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, take your arms up, reach up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Bend your knees as much as you need to touch the floor. This isn't about hamstrings right now, so bend your knees. Inhale, lengthen, look forward. Step back to down dog. Look between your hands, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand, spin your back heel down. So you have warrior two legs, walk your hands to the left like downward facing dog. The right hip, my right hip likes to roll out, so hug it in towards the middle of your mat, make your outer right hip strong, then push down through the back outer edge of your left foot. Walk your hands forward towards the front of your mat. Come on the ball of your left foot. Put your left knee down. Turn your right toes to the right. Put your right hand on your thigh and twist to the right. Turn your right toes forward. Walk your back knee back a little. And you have options here. You can stay on your hands. You can come onto your forearms. Or if you want a little bit more, you can come all the way down onto your forearms on the mat without the block. The tendency is for the right knee to roll open. Hug it in as much as you can. If you're track your knee over your toes for stability, even hug your right shin in towards the mat. So get the bottom half of the leg engaged along with the top half. Come up onto your hands, walk your back knee in. So you have two 90-degree angles, two squares here. You can stay, again, we have the same arm positions. You can stay here up on hands. You can use a block and come onto forearms, or you can come all the way down to the floor with your forearms on the floor. But drag your feet together, tone your outer right hip, draw your lower belly in and up. Put the top of your back foot on the floor. Come up onto your hands, step back, downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths here. And then step your left foot to the outside of your left hand, so we're wide here. Spin your back heel down. Walk your hands to the right side of your mat for down dog lunge. So your legs are in warrior two. Your arms are like downward facing dog. My tendency is to let the hip roll out. Hug the left hip towards the right side of your mat. Drag your left heel towards your back foot. Then tone your glutes and push from your hips down through the bones of your legs and push out through your arms. Extend in all directions. Walk your hands forward. Come up on the ball of your back foot. Put your back knee down, turn your left toes out, put your left hand on your thigh and twist to the left. Hug your right foot to the left side of your mat. So drag, like my heel tends to roll open. drag it towards the outer edge of the left side of your mat. I don't know if you can hear my back popping way over there, but come onto your hands, turn your toes forward, walk your back knee back. Stage one, option one, stay on your hands. Option two, come to blocks on forearms. Option three, bring your forearms all the way to the floor. Notice if your right heel rolls out and hug it in, push into the ball of the left pinky toe and drag your, or right pinky toe, sorry, and drag your right foot towards the left side of your mat. And stand down through the left foot, through the heel and the ball of the left foot, and drag your left heel towards your right knee. Come up onto your hands, walk your back knee in till you have two 90-degree angles and put the top of your right foot down. Same arm positions, you can stay on fingertips or hands, you can put your forearms to a block, or you can put your forearms all the way down to the floor. Hug your left leg in towards the body, tone your legs, drag your feet together, draw your lower belly in and up. Come up on your hands and step back into downward facing dog. Press your hands down and forward, take the tops of your thighs back. Bend your knees deeply and come up onto the balls of your feet. Take your hips higher with your knees bent. Look between your hands and step or hop your feet to the front of your mat. Inhale, lengthen, look forward. Exhale and bow. Inhale, stretch your arms up, come up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, grab your chair. You're gonna have two options here. So you can do this with a chair or without a chair, actually. It just depends on what you like. So with a chair, I'll show you and get that set up. We'll start, pretty simple. We'll start by sitting on the chair. You grab your block. Put your block between your thighs, so you want your knees in line with your hips. I'm interested, and then your ankles underneath your knees. So really we're working with inner thigh activation here. So squeeze your block. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, you don't have to use the chair at all. You can sit against the wall, put the block between your thighs, sit in a 90-degree angle or somewhat like that, and squeeze your block like crazy. You can keep your hands on your thighs, or you can reach your arms up. So chair or no chair, hands on your thighs, hands are raised. If you are sitting in a chair, you can still lift your hands up. The idea is squeeze your block. Squeeze your block until your inner thighs engage. Squeeze it some more once your inner thighs engage. Draw your lower belly in and up. Keep squeezing your block. Squeeze your feet towards one another. Squeeze your shins towards one another. Squeeze your block. Did I mention to squeeze your block? Put your hands on your thighs. Woo. Waddle out of that, come out of it. Grab your strap. Make a loop. I should have had loops already. Make a loop. It's going to go around the top of your thighs, so probably about hip distance. Now you're going to use a chair again. So grab your chair. If you want to use the chair, go ahead and get it ready. You'll step into your loop. Put it at the top of your thighs and tighten it up so that when you push, your knees are still in line with your hips. So if it's super wide, it's going to make your knees go out too wide. Sit on your chair. Put your feet under your chair, under your knees. Make a square and press your knees out side to side. Put your hands on your hips. So let it go slack and notice that there's very little muscle engagement in the outer hips. And then push your knees out side to side until you feel your outer hips engage. You might actually feel them engage like with your hands. You might feel that movement. So the chair's an option. You can stay there and continue to pull your legs apart. Or you can sit back on the wall and do the same thing. pull your legs away from one another, put your hands on your hips. Now from here, you can either stay here with your hands as they are, or reach your arms up. Just pull your legs away from one another, draw your lower belly in and up. I don't know, tell yourself a little story, sing a little song, whatever you gotta do here. Tone your legs though. Now imagine you have that block between your thighs. As you pull away, also squeeze in just a little so you balance that. Put your hands on the wall and stand up. And release your strap. So just as standing in the middle of your mat, bend your knees, put your hands to the inside of your knees and press your knees towards one another. Just as a reminder, there's that inner knee thigh activation. Put your hands to your outer knees and push your knees into your hands into your knees, outer hip activation. Put your chair away. Come to the center of your mat. Set your feet hip distance and parallel. Put your hands on your hips. Draw your right knee up. Put your hand to the outside of your right knee and press your knee to the right. While you're here, do a little hamstring curl. Bring your heel towards your butt. Slide your hand over to the inner thigh. Squeeze your knee to the left. Push your hand into your knee into your hand. Flip your hand again. Outer hip engagement. Press, 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 press. Give resistance with the hand. Hamstring curl. Inner knee, push. Release your right leg down. Take your left leg up. Take your hand to the outer knee or thigh, wherever it lands. Push your knee into your hand. Now squeeze your heel towards your butt. So hamstring curl. Switch your hand. Push for inner thigh activation. Switch your hand again. Press your knee open to the left. Press your knee into your hand into your knee. Hamstring curl again. Pull your heel towards your butt. Switch your hand again and push your knee into your hand for inner thigh activation. Set your left foot down. Draw your right knee up. Activate your outer right hip and open your knee to the right. Now hamstring curl. Curl it in, and then reach down and help it into the thigh. You have other options here. If it's not going into the thigh, it can go onto your right foot can go onto your calf, or it can go on to the ball of the foot. You have options here. Put your hand to the outside of your right knee and gently press, but push your foot into your leg into your foot. Bring your hands to heart center. While we're here, we'll do a little shoulder work. Take your hands alongside your body, thumbs pointing forward, and press back as if someone had a hold of your wrists. Press your arms back. Then bring your arms out to the side, turn the thumbs forward, and press back. As if someone was pressing into your wrist, as if there was resistance there. Bring your arms up, turn the pinkies forward, push your wrists back towards the back of the room, towards behind you. And then arms alongside your ears. You can't see my arms, the tops of my arms. But press your thumbs pointing back towards the wall behind you. Press your hands back. Bring your hands down, turn your right knee forward, release. Second side. Take your left knee up. Put your left hand on the outer edge of your knee and open it to the side. Curl your left heel towards your butt, hamstring curl, and then place your foot for tree. So floor, calf, or inner thigh. Press your leg into your foot into your leg, lift your chest. And we'll do the same thing with the arms. Take your arms down as if someone has the back of your wrists. Press your arms back. Keep your left hip toned. So as we focus on the arms, you tend to forget the legs. Keep your legs toned. Take your arms out to the side, thumbs forward, pinkies back, and press. Take your arms up in a V, thumbs pointing behind you, press. Keep your legs toned. Bring your biceps alongside your ears and press back. Release your hands. Turn your knee forward and release that. Oh, I forgot to tell you to get a blanket. If you have a blanket, grab a blanket. You can use that. You can also use, I have a bolster. If you have something like a bolster or a pillow, you can use that too. We're gonna do a little bit of tree work on a blanket. So roll your blanket up. I like mine pretty high, you can play with it. Place your hips, your hip points on the blanket. Roll to your right side and put your left foot in tree. Then roll back onto your blanket with your knee down. Push your knee into the floor and try to get your hip point down on the blanket as much as possible. You can put your forehead on your arms, but press your left hip down. Tuck your back toes, straighten your back leg. Then roll to your right side, release your left leg, roll to your left side, put your right leg in tree, roll it down, roll your right knee down. Hip points as close to the blanket as you can get them. My right side does not go down as much. Tuck your back toes, straighten your back leg, hips down towards the mat. Try to get your right hip point towards the blanket. It may not touch. Mine does not touch. Legs strong as if you were in tree. Tone your outer right hip. So press your right knee into the floor, but then also as if your hand were on the back of your right, outer edge of your right knee. Press into your hand until your outer hips are toned. I'm not sure if that made sense. And then roll to your left side. Release your right leg. Come into plank. Exhale, down dog. Bend your knees a little bit. Get your hips. Get up, come onto the balls of your feet. Take your hips high. Push your hands down and forward. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Bend your knees deeply. Get your belly on your thighs. And you can stay with your hands on the floor. You can grab opposite elbows and let your head hang, whatever feels good to you here. And then put your hands on your hips, draw your elbows together, shoulders up towards the ceiling, lift your chin, inhale, and come up. Good. All right. Let's do a little bit of standing work to get some more external rotation, and then we're going to work some internal rotation. Come to the center of your mat. Tap your fingertips together, bend your knees, step or jump your feet apart. Look at your wrists. Make sure your ankles are directly underneath your wrists. That tells you how wide you can be. Turn your right toes out. Turn your left toes in just a little bit. Bend your right knee to a square. Look down at your right heel and line it up with the middle of your back arch. Look over your right fingertips. So the tendency is to tip towards the right fingers. Go ahead and pull your torso so that it stacks up on top of your hips. Drag your feet together. With your right hand, put your right hand on the outside of your right knee and press your knee to the right. Put your left hand on your left hip. Push down as if you had a strap on the outside of your back leg. Push down through your back foot until your outer hips engage. Stretch your arms out. Keep your legs as they are. Put your left hand on your hip. Put your right forearm to your thigh. If you want to go further than this, you can grab your block. Put your block on the outside of your right foot. If you want to go even further than that, right hand outside your right foot. Drag your feet together. Press your knee into your arms. Turn your right ribs. You can even help your right ribs along. Grab your right ribs and turn them up towards the ceiling. And then stretch your top arm up and over your ear. Push down through your back leg. So squeeze your feet together. Press down through the legs. Reach from your outer left foot through your left fingertips. Bring your left hand to your hip. And stand up, warrior two. Keep your legs strong. Straighten your right leg. Turn your right toes in. Turn your left toes out. So your right toes in just a smidge. Bend your left knee to a square. Warrior two. Put your left hand to the outside of your left knee and press your hand into your knee and your knee into your hand until your outer hips engage. Stretch your left arm up. Look out over your left fingertips. Put your right hand on your hip. Push into the back edge of your back foot until your outer hip engages. Stretch your right arm long again. Push down through your feet, your legs, the bones of your legs. Put your right hand on your hip. Put your left forearm to the thigh. You can also put your left hand to the block or left hand to the floor. From your left ribs, I'm going to help my left ribs turn. I'm going to grab my left ribs and turn them up towards the ceiling, even down by my belly button. I'm going to grab the left side body, turn it up towards the ceiling, stretch your top arm up and over your ear. Press from your outer left foot out for your fingertips. Press your outer foot down, your outer back foot down until your outer hip engages. Stand down through your left heel, drag your feet together. And then come to warrior two with really strong legs. Straighten your left leg. Turn your left toes in, put your hands on your hip. Walk your feet closer together. So they're kind of outer hip distance apart, then turn your toes out. Bend your knees. This one's tough for me. Bend your knees. My butt likes to stick way out, so I have to work hard to keep less of an anterior tilt of the pelvis and more of a neutral pelvis. Bend as deeply as you're comfortable with. You can keep your hands on your thighs or put your hands to the outsides of your knees and press your knees into your hands. Put your hands at the inside of your knees and press your knees into your hands again. Draw your lower belly in and up. Stay here, stage one. Stage two, arms up. You might feel a little quivering, perhaps. But drag your feet together even here and tone your outer hips, tone your inner thighs, draw your lower belly in and up. Stand up. Crack, crack. Turn your toes in. Good. Bend your knees. Take your right ankle to the top of your left knee. Flex your right foot. Stage one is here. Stage two, sit deeper in your chair and put your forearms to your shins. We're going to stay here for today. Sometimes I have you put your hands on the floor, but we're not going to do that today. Instead, you're going to hook your elbows. If you want to go further, you don't have to. You're going to hook your elbows around the fronts of your shins and push your shin into your elbows and your elbows into your shin, and then press your right knee down towards the floor to activate your outer hips. Draw your lower belly in and up. Sometimes we can put the hands down and we lose the engagement of the legs. Notice if your shoulders are creeping up towards your ears. Mine were. I'm squeezing. Lengthen your neck. You can put the palms of your hands together. Come back up with your forearms on your shins. Bring your hands to your hips and stand up. Keep your figure four for just a moment. Straighten your left leg. And then release your right leg. Second side. Bend your knees. Put your left ankle on top of your right foot, right knee. I'm having word problems today. Flex your left toes and sit back. Stay here. If this is good for you, stay here. If you want to go further, bring your forearms to your shin. Then if you want to go a little bit further, sit your butt back first. So instead of tilting forward towards the floor, sit your butt back first and scoochie your shin towards the back of your arms. Then push your shin into your arms into your shin. Press your palms together. Keep your left foot, engage your left foot, wrap your left foot around your right bicep, so make your legs strong. And then tone your outer hips like we've been working. And then engage the inner thighs and go back and forth like a light switch dimmer. Inner thigh, outer hip. Inner thigh, outer hip. Forearms to shins. Hands to hips. Inhale, stand up, keep your figure four leg. And then release your left foot down. Okay, so we're going to do a little more internal rotation. All of that was a lot of external rotation with the hips. Now we're going to work the opposite direction just a bit. So make sure you have your blocks handy. I'm going to have mine like this because we're not so interested. We're going to do a couple twists. I'm not so interested in the twists today as I am in the leg and hip work. You'll see what I'm talking about. Bring your feet together. Touch your fingertips. Bend your knees and step or jump your feet apart. Now this time we're going to go a little bit shorter than we might normally do. So you just walk your feet in a little bit. They don't have to be right underneath your wrists. Take your arms up overhead. Put your palms together if that's comfortable. If it's not, you can always work hands on hips or hands apart. Turn your right toes out. Turn your left toes way in, way in, way in, way in. All right, tone your legs. Lift your chest. Exhale, fold forward so you can go slowly. Again, you can put your hands on your hips. It's a little bit easier descent here. But stretch your arms out in front if that works for you. For a half Parshva, we're not going to do a full one just yet. Press down through your feet. Draw your right hip back, left hip forward. Tendency is for the right hip to pop out. Keep your hips as level as possible. Push through the back foot so that the heel is down. You might feel that you get a little calf stretch. Now tone your right kneecap a lot. Put your hands on your hips or keep them up and stand up. Turn your right toes in way deep so that they point to the top right corner of your top corner of your mat in the other direction. Turn your left toes out. Reach up, fold forward. And then again, the tendency might be for this hip to move back. Keep your hips as level as possible. It can help to have your hands on your hips when you're first kind of figuring this stuff out, so you can keep your hip points as level as possible. Press down through the left foot, particularly press down through the ball of the foot as if you were standing on the gas pedal of your car. Push through the back right leg so that your right foot is really stable. Then pull from your kneecaps up into your hips. Draw your lower belly in and up. Then hands to hips or just stand up with your arms overhead. Turn your left toes in. Put your hands in your hips. Oh, that's a lot of work. Turn your left toes in deeply. Turn your right toes out. I have this block here. I'm going to put it on the inside of my right foot. So again, we're going for a pretty gentle version of this. Not so much the twist as the outer hip work. Take your hands on your hips. You have your two hip points here. Point them forward if possible. If not, not a big deal. But tone your legs. Fold forward. Put your left hand on the block. It can be at highest height. It can be at a medium height. It can be at a low height. It feels, but do use a block for this one. Otherwise, we tend to kind of dump. And I'm going, like we said, we're going for kind of gentle outer hip work, not the twist. Turn your chest to the right. Stretch your right arm up if your shoulders are stacked or nearly stacked. Tone your legs. Pull from your kneecaps up into your hips. Press through your back heel. Release your right hand to your hip. Stand up. Move your block out of the way. Turn your toes forward. Turn your back foot in deeply. Turn your left foot forward. Place the block on the inside of your left foot. Hip points, hands on hips. Tone your legs. Reach forward with your chest. Put your right hand on the block, and any level that you choose. I'm going to keep it high because it gets into my outer hips a little bit more. Turn your chest to the left. And checking that my hips are fairly level. Look that forward. So have the block wrist, your shoulder over your elbow, over your wrist. Turn to the left, twist to the left. Squeeze your legs together. So inner thighs hug in, outer hips engage. If your shoulders are stacked, you can take your top arm up, but it's really not that important. This one, the left arm going up isn't. And then put your left hand on your hip and stand up. All right, good. Step your feet together. Well done. Grab your blanket. Set it on your mat. You may not want it. I like it for this pose, but you may not like it. All right, have a seat. Put your feet on the floor. Back up a little. Take your feet wide, so you can have them a little wide, or you can have them really wide. It doesn't really matter. It just depends on what feels good to you. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. Take your right hand to the inside of your left thigh, your left hand to the outside of your left hip, and internally rotate your upper thighs. Manually rotate your upper thighs. Press your heels down, press your calves down, press your thighs down. Stage 1 is here. Stay here if this works for you. Stage 2, you can start to fold forward just a bit. Upta Vista Konasana. Draw your lower belly in and up. It doesn't matter how close you get to the floor. You don't want to compromise the stretching of the hips and the hamstrings by rounding the back. So keep your chest lifted. How close to the floor you get isn't really, if you get closer to the floor by rounding your back, you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors. You're just rounding your back. But if you can keep your chest lifted, then you can work the hips and the hamstrings a little bit more, which is the point, which is what we're working to do here. The back rounds pretty easily. It doesn't need much help here. So do keep the chest lifted, tone your legs, make your tops of your thighs really strong. And then inhale and come up. Okay, here's a crowd pleaser for you. Frog pose. I like to use a blanket. It just adds a little bit of cushion on my mat and a little slippery surface kind of on the mat. Oops. Take my blanket quite wide. Come onto your hands and knees to begin. Then take your knees out wider, so they're at outer hip distance. Now your feet are going to be on, you're going to lay your feet on the inner edge of the foot, pinky toe pointing towards the ceiling, foot flexed. Your knee and your ankle are eventually going to be in line with one another. So you slide your knees out to side so that your pelvis starts to come closer to the floor. Now the interesting thing happens when you start to shift forward and backwards. Push your inner knees into the floor. It helps keep some stability in the knees here. So you want some engagement. It's not just like you flop down. You do want some engagement in the legs as you kind of move back and forth. Somewhere in there is a spot that is somewhat interesting. Find that spot and hang out there for a moment. Tone your inner thighs. We've been working that all class. Drag your knees towards one another. Tone your outer hips so that your outer hips engage. Soften your face. I'm talking to myself here. And then again, you can start to find that spot, shift back and forth. There's bound to be something interesting somewhere for everybody, hopefully. Maybe not, but I have lots of interesting spots. And just once you find that place where it's a little tight, maybe a little immobile, you just breathe there. Squeeze your knees together. Ooh, come back where you started. Come onto your hands and knees. Move your blanket out of the way. And come into downward facing dog. So we got into the inner thighs a little bit. We're going to move back towards the outer hip. Take your left knee towards your left wrist and put the top of your left foot on the mat with the heel pointed towards the groin. Walk your back knee back, pigeon pose. So tuck your back toes to begin with. And you can stay here. Stage one, you have support. You can use your blocks if you want to have your blocks to kind of help hold you up. For me, I'm quite tight in the hip flexors, so the blocks help kind of get me upright and started, but I have to push a lot through the back foot to engage all the way from my right foot up through my right ribs. You can let go of the blocks if you want to just work on some strength here. And then fold forward, so put your hands on the floor if they're not already. Point your back toes back and fold forward over your left leg. Drag your left and your right knee towards your left heel. Tone your outer hips. So this is in a super lazy pigeon. And then you can stay upright. You can rest your forehead. You can grab a block. Put a block under your forehead. But press your shin into the mat so that you have a bit of engagement in your pigeon. Sorry if there's lots of noise outside. Come up onto your hands. And then lift your back knee up. Down dog. Take a breath here. Sigh it out through your mouth. Inhale. Exhale, right knee to your right wrist. Pigeon on the second side. Point your left toes back. So actually for this one, sorry, tuck your toes to begin with. So when you're upright, use the power of the back leg by tucking the toes. You can use your blocks to help get you a little more upright. You can release those blocks. You can clasp hands behind your back. You've got all sorts of options here. Today, I need the blocks to provide a little bit of support and to provide a little bit of opening in the front body. I have been sitting a lot these days, and I can tell. All right, blocks down. Fold forward over your right leg, pigeon pose. Point your left toes back for this one. Push your right shin into the mat so that your right leg engages. Hug your outer hips towards one another. If this is, I should have said this earlier, if this is hard on your knees, you can do this on your back. In a figure 4 that we did at the beginning. But we're gonna go back to that pose here in a minute as well. You can also prop yourself up. You can put a block underneath your hip if it's a lot. You can put a blanket underneath your hip. Lots of pigeon options. And then lift, come up onto your hands. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale through your mouth. Press your hands down and forward, thighs back. Put your knees on the floor. Have a seat. Take your left leg out straight. Bring your right heel in towards your hip. Take your right hand behind your back, and you can either wrap your arm around the front of your knee. You can hold on to your knee, or you can take your left elbow to the knee and place your left hand at the center of your chest. If your arm is at your shoulder, take your arm up. The idea is that if you can get your hand to the center of your chest, you can press your hand into your chest and your chest into your hand. But if your hand's at your shoulder, it's not really doing what the hand pressing, chest pressing thing should be doing. So if you can't reach your chest, keep your fingertips pointing up towards the ceiling in Abhaya Mudra. Come back to center. Stretch your right leg long. Pull your left knee in towards your chest. Set your left foot down on the floor. Stage 1 is to wrap. Option 1 is to wrap your forearm around the front of your knee with your left hand behind your head. Option 2 is elbow to the outside of the knee, Abhaya Mudra. Option 3 is to your chest, so that you can press your chest in your hand and your hand into your chest. Twist, look over your left shoulder. Keep your right toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Inhale, come back to center. Grab your block, bend your knees. Start in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. Oh, my knees are up quite high, so you might want to sit on a blanket to let your outer hips relax a little bit. Press your feet together. Draw your knees up towards your armpits to engage your inner thighs, and then press your knees out side to side to engage the outer hips. Grab your block, put it on the lowest setting between your feet. Push your feet together. Draw your knees up towards your armpits until your inner thighs engage. Keep that engagement and extend your knees out towards the sides of the room. I have to work really hard to not posteriorly tilt my pelvis. I have to work really hard to lift up and make sure that my hip points stay facing forward. That's just my body. Flip the block so that it's medium height. Push your feet together into the block. Draw your knees up and then press your knees to the sides of the room. Lift your chest. And then third height. Press the block, lift your knees up, Press your knees out. And then release back to no block. Put the feet together. Put your feet together. You can hold your feet. Like you've got a little basket around your feet. Draw your knees in and extend your knees out. Lift your chest. Baddha Konasana. Tone your outer hips. And then put your hands on the outer edges of your knees. Lift your knees up. Ooh, shake your legs out. We're going to go back to where we started to see if we see a little bit of difference in our hips. Hopefully they're a little more open. So lay on your back, please, and grab your strap. With one strap in each hand, place the strap around the ball of your foot. Your left leg can be straight or it can be bent. Sorry, it can be bent or it can be straight. And then straighten your right leg up towards the ceiling. Point your foot, so press the ball of your foot towards the ceiling. And then pull your toes towards your face. Point, point, pull it in, and point or point, and pull it in again. Now take both straps in your right hand, take your leg out to the right. Tone your outer right hip. So we worked a lot with the inner and outer thigh. So engage your inner thigh, and then engage your outer hip. Keep your left hip down on the mat as much as possible. And then bring your right leg up. Take the strap into your left hand, both straps into your left hand, and take your right leg over to the left. Ooh. Now this time, take your right thumb, make like a C with your hand, put your thumb in the crease of your hip, and wrap your fingers, if you can see, thumb here, fingers around, and then rotate, externally rotate your hip towards the front of the room. But don't take that big twist I just took. Just externally rotate your hip towards the front of the room. Then bring your right leg up and take half happy baby here. Grab the outer edge of your foot. You can even use your strap here. Press your foot into your hand and your hand into your foot. Again, sorry if it's noisy outside. Then release your strap. Release your foot. Bend your left leg. Put your right ankle on top of your left knee. And you can either stay here. You can press your knee open towards the right, towards the front of your mat. Or you can bend your left leg. Put a strap around the back of your thigh. Interlace your hands around the back of your thigh, or interlace your hands around the front of your shin. I can get my hands around the front of my shin right now. We've got a little bit of hip opening, so yay! And then release that. Release your right foot down and second side. One strap in each hand. Right leg can be straight or bent. Straighten your left leg up towards the ceiling. Press your foot. So press the ball of the foot up towards the ceiling, kind of floint your foot, spread your toes, particularly press the ball of your big toe towards the ceiling. And then pull your foot towards your face, flex a little bit. Point, floint, and flex. Point, floint, and flex. Take both straps in your left hand, take your leg over to the left. Use your left elbow if you need to kind of prop your leg up, or give some support to your leg. It doesn't really prop your leg up, just give some support. Tone your outer hip. So we could just let it hang, right? You could just let it hang out. I find it much more effective if I tone my outer hips, engage my inner thighs, so that I'm actually engaging in order to release the muscles. So strength to stretch. Because I can actually go further without the strength, but it goes into my ligaments and I can feel it all in the back of my knee. So I like to use the power that I have in my outer hip and my inner thigh to start to open up those bigger muscles. And then take your left leg up, bring it over to the right. I still have a tight outer left hip. Make a C, put your thumb in the hip crease, fingertips around the outer hip, and rotate your thigh towards the front of your mat. Now, my pinky likes to roll out, so I have to work really hard to pull my pinky toe back and press through the ball of my big toe to start to get in the balanced foot in the strap here. Then inhale, come up, bend your left leg. Take half happy baby here. We switch the order up just a smidge. Bend your right leg, put your left ankle on top of your right knee, flex your foot. You can stay here. This is actually a really nice hip stretch in my front hip flexor for me here. Or you can bend your right knee, strap around the back of your leg, hands around the back of your leg, or perhaps hands to the front of your shins. If your elbow is gently resting on your thigh, you can gently use your elbow to externally rotate your left hip so that your knee moves more towards that front wall. Flex your left foot, flex your right foot. And then you can play with the tilt of your pelvis. We did a little anterior tilt of the pelvis so that you could slide something underneath your lower back. You can see how it feels to lift the lower back up and to tilt the pelvis towards the front of your mat and see if that makes a difference. Then release that. Release your legs. Draw your knees into your chest. Pull your knees into your chest. Stage option 1 is here. Option 2, curl your head and your nose towards your knees. Option 3 is full happy baby. With your hands at the outsides of your feet, your elbows towards the insides of your knees. And then release your feet. Shavasana. So stretch your legs long. Arms alongside your body. Release your jaw. Release any tension around your eyes, any tension you're holding between your eyebrows. Shift your awareness from your head space to your heart space. And you can stay here, rest here as long as you would like. But I'm going to go ahead and say namaste. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today.